Thank you, everyone, for joining us and hanging with us for a bit. We're now going to roll into our post-race press conferences here at Bristol Motor Speedway after this evening's Bass Pro Shops night race. We've been joined by Brad Keselowski, who is the race-winning owner this evening here for Chris Buescher and the number 17 team. Brad, thank you for joining us and being willing to sit with us as well after a probably semi-disappointing night for you from the driver's seat. But talk a little bit about what it means to have Chris go to victory lane, but also just what it meant to you tonight to have the opportunity to lead several laps in the race.
Yeah, well, it was quite a night. First off, I'll say we had two really fast cars between Chris Buescher 17 and my number 6. I was thinking for a while there I was going to be in here wearing both hats as the owner and driver, but unfortunately had a tire go down for an unknown reason there. I think with about 75 to go. So that was quite a roller coaster of emotions. And then, obviously Chris and his team, Scott Graves, made a really bold call there to put 2 tires on. And I think they had a great car, don't get me wrong, but the call to get the lead and knowing what they had was really clever. And they capitalized from there. So Chris was in position all day to you run in the top 5 long enough and things kind of worked their way out. And just glad that we had kind of the redundancy between our 2 cars with the speed that we showed this weekend to make something happen. So really proud for him, really proud for his team. And, I certainly wanted to win for myself, but, that's if there's any solace, that's a good one to have. And, I'll say for Chris, he's done such a great job growing this year. And, I'm really proud to work with him and see that. And his focus is, top level, and he deserves a lot of credit. This is not an easy race to win. It never has been, but it's a big race to win for your career. The Bristol Night Race is, a race that champions win, and I think the growth that he's shown this year shows that he can be just that. So a big moment for him and a big moment for our company to be able to win races is really so important at this level. You're not relevant if you can't win races. So. And if you're not relevant, you can't have sponsors. You can't have sponsors. You can't go to the racetrack every week. So we need to win. We need to win for our partners. And Fastenal is a key partner for us. And it's good to see them rewarded for their loyalty to us with a big win at a big race. So just a lot to be proud of today, even though, from the driver's side, I didn't get what I wanted out of it. But certainly a huge night for us.
All right, we'll take questions for Brad now. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. We'll get to as many questions as we can in the time that we have. We'll start over here with Seth and Jacob, and then we'll make our way over to the right.
Seth Egger, KickingTires.net. Brad, this is the first time that in the playoffs, an entire round has been swept by non-playoff drivers. Does that show the parity of this car?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, there's been a lot of circumstances, but parity as well. I thought, last 2 races, Bubba drove a great race. Eric Jones drove a great race. There were some other crazy things that happened as well. So, it's hard to say how that all is going to play out, but I would say parity is certainly a part of it for sure.
All right, Jacob, go ahead.
Jacob Steelman, Kicking the Tires. Brad, first off, congratulations. I know, like you said, you wanted both hats tonight, but when you made the move from Penske to what's now RFK, I think a lot of people probably openly questioned it. Mm-hmm. It's been a building process. Did you see the pieces that were necessary to get to this point where you guys would be back in victory lane as an organization when you made the decision to move over?
Yeah, I mean, it's painful, but, anything in life worth doing is painful. It's a little bit like working out and, moved up a weight class here. I got to build a lot more muscle and get better off the track as much as I have to on the track. And, there was a lot of room for growth within the company. We've been making major investments to try to get to where we can get this thing to where it can win. And when you make those investments, you want to get a result out of it. And it's really important that you get those results when you do them. And so there has been a little bit of a lag, and some of that, one of our biggest problems is that, there was a ton of supply chain issues that probably affected us as much as anyone else this year or more. And we're just now starting to realize some of those investments, and they're paying off with results.
All right, go ahead.
Adam Thumuk from NASCAR.com. Brad, you're a race-winning team owner in the NASCAR Cup Series now. Is this one of the most satisfying moments of your racing career up to this point?
No, it's certainly a good feeling, and I got to try to clear my emotions and memory out of, not winning the race as a driver and working your butt off to do that and, coming short of it. But also, I'm trying to remember to be grateful, because it's super hard to win races in this sport, even as a car owner. And so in that sense, big moment for us. I know that you guys, this is our first win. I would say the duels felt more like our first win, but you get into all these qualifications of points races and exhibition races, and I can tell you, I felt like that was our first win. But with respect to that, this is a different type of win. This is a legacy type of win. There's some tracks that winning at is always great, don't get me wrong, but there's some tracks that winning at is just not as special as others. And Bristol is right up there at the top of being special. So, big moment for us.
All right, Jeff.
Yeah, with your own race tonight. So first you stay out you don't pit at all on the first stage, but the tires still held up pretty decent. And then, you're leading, you have a flat tire. Like, is there any explanation? Like, how do you reconcile those two things?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we looked at all the tire wears after the first run, and the tires showed they'd go almost 300 laps. So I don't think the tire wore out. It either failed or we ran over something.
All right, Nate.
Yeah, I guess following up on that, Brad, a little bit. So you run the entire first stage without pitting, and then your teammate takes 2 tires and wins. Did you guys have that feeling coming in that you're going to be able to sort of just play that strategy out that way?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time talking about our strategy for the race, and tires seem to not be an issue until they're a really big issue today. And we kind of thought that was how it was going to play out, and it's a little bit of a lottery of when it's going to happen. And the 6 car, we lost that lottery today, and the 17, we won it.
Heard some guys talking about that it was difficult to pass, that the speed's really high in the corners. When you got out front, did you feel like you could control the race? Is that kind of the way it was for the leader tonight?
Yes and no. I mean, I restarted third there on the restart at the, I don't know, probably 150 to go, and was able to pass the front 2 cars for the lead. So I feel like, yes, I could pass. And it wasn't easy, but it's not supposed to be easy. What I like to see is continue to work on the cars, absolutely. And I've said this in NASCAR, and I've said it in the media before, and I'll say it again. If the next-gen car looks the same next year as it does this year, then we failed. It should continue to grow. We should continue to learn. We should continue to make it better. And there's probably some car owners that don't want to hear that, because it costs money to change the cars. But, like anything, when you create something new, like the next-gen car, there's going to be things that are optimized, and there's going to be things that aren't. And I think there's opportunities to continue to make this car better and the racing better with it. I think it's still a step forward from where we were in a lot of ways. I think we've seen some great racing because of that. Great parity, I think, is what Jacob was trying to allude to, and I think he's right. So there's a lot of big positives. Like any industry, we probably get caught up in the negatives more than the positives. But that's not to say, and that's the issue at hand, is I feel like there's 2 camps. There's the everything's wrong with this car camp, and there's nothing's wrong with this car camp. And I'm trying to set my meaning like, no, it's a pretty big step forward for our sport. It's actually pretty good, but I'd like to keep working on it. And it seems like, much like many things today, the polarization means there's no room for middle ground. But in my eyes, I'd like to see some small tweaks, but I'm thankful and proud of our sport and where the next-gen car has taken us so far.
I realize you're biased, but there were a ton of durability concerns tonight, a lot of attrition. I'm sure that's going to be the narrative going forward, like you said. Do you think that the car deserves a passing grade for how it performed tonight?
I'm not aware of all the durability issues, so it would probably be unfair for me to comment, but I just know we didn't have any other than the tire. I heard maybe some power steering issues. We didn't have those, so I couldn't comment on that. I heard there was maybe a fuel pump issue, but from what I understand, that's not related to the next-gen car. It's similar parts, if not identical to the older car. But that's all I'm aware of at the moment.
All right, we'll go Kelly, Matt, and then Steven. Go ahead.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Brad, a few weeks ago, Steve Newmark told me that when you all put your deal together, one of the first things you said to him is, how long is Chris Buescher signed for?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know how to take if that was a good thing or a bad thing,
Yeah.
but you were very pleased to know that he had a few years on his contract. So is he someone that you envision that you're going to work with for a long time? You want him in the company? He's earned his place?
Yeah, I wanted Chris Buescher to drive the 21 Cup car about 5 years ago. I thought that highly of him, and there was a number of reasons why it didn't come over, timing and so forth. But I thought that was a natural fit for him, and I thought a lot of his talent then. I went to a Ford driving school with him somewhere around 2015, and I was blown away by his talent and his feel for the car. I just felt like he didn't have the support system around him to be successful with the teams he was with. And so I kind of felt like he was a hidden free agent gem that wasn't being scouted properly, and felt that way for a handful of years. And so, yeah, it was literally the first thing I did when I signed the papers at RFK was the next step after signing my papers was putting an offer in front of him to give him a contract extension. And I felt like he was somebody we could build around and get results. And today clearly shows that that was the case.
So he has an extension that I think the last we heard was it was through 24.
Yeah, he's got multiple years left in his contract.
Okay. Tonight, you both were in the top 5 when you had your tire issue. Is tonight a good showing of what these two teams are capable of, or was tonight just a Bristol specific type thing, or is there anything from tonight?
With next gen, somebody wins one week and runs 30 at the next. So, I'd like to sit here and tell you, Kelly, yeah, we're going next week to Texas and we'll lead every lap and win the race. But as you can tell, it's not that simple. I think as a whole, the Fords seem to be more competitive on the short tracks, so that's probably part of our strength. The mile and a halves have been, a struggle. So I hope we can go to Texas and have a good run next week, and think we'll run really well at Talladega if we can not get wrecked. But in that sense, it's hard to say. It's kind of 1 week at a time, Kelly.
All right, go ahead, Matt.
Matt Weaver, Racing America. From a business standpoint, winning the races at Daytona and now winning the Bristol night race, in what ways does being able to give those moments to your partners help you kind of build another foundation on this company as you guys want to grow? Yeah,
we want to get back to being at least a 4-car team. That's been our goal all along. Before you can get to a 4-car team, you got to get to a 3-car team. Before you can get to a 3-car team, you have to be relevant as a 2-car team. And so for us, again, relevancy, Matt, is winning races, multiple races a year with both your cars and competing for playoffs. Obviously, we're not in the playoffs with either of our cars, so we have more work to do. But, our stated goal internally is to get back to being a 4-car team. And that's not going to happen if you're not winning races and you're not relevant as a 2-car team. So this is a good step forward for us. We got a long way still to go. We need to be able to win multiple races a year. But before you can do that, you got to win first race. So not to take anything away from today.
And then a follow-up on Nate's question. To your point, I think this car has definitely made intermediate tracks, bigger tracks better, right? And then the challenge so far has been short tracks. Do you have enough data now between here and Martinsville as far as a direction you would like to, as an owner and a driver, point NASCAR towards, whether it's tire fall off or aero or what have you?
Yeah, I don't have a perfect answer for that probably at the moment, Matt. I know we won't get there unless we try. So I think there's some effort being put into those things. I couldn't specify what they are, but certainly we have some room to continue to grow and be better. No problem.
All right, Steven, go ahead.
Steven Toronto, CBS Sports. Brad, you alluded to this a little earlier, but obviously this isn't your first time winning a race as a car owner. You did it plenty of times with BKR in the Truck Series. Also not your first time winning a Cup race. You've done it so many times as a driver. And you mentioned the duels at Daytona. It's not necessarily the first time winning with RFK Racing. So does that make the feeling of winning a points race with RFK Racing more of a satisfactory feeling than necessarily a high of elation or spike in emotion, anything like that?
Yeah. Yeah, we've had an up and down year. So you do have to enjoy the wins, no doubt. But I also want to keep perspective. And, what becomes really natural inside of any company and specifically in racing is when you win to kind of become complacent. And so I naturally probably hedge against that, maybe even too much, and don't enjoy the moments as much as we should. But that said, we got a lot more that we need to do and that I want to see us do to continue to be in a position to win more races than we've been in this year. And this is certainly a good sign, and I'm really proud of everyone in our company, but we have got to keep our head down. We have got to keep getting better.
Are there any particular racetracks in the next 7 races that you think this company has a particularly good chance of winning?
Yeah, I mean, I really like what we saw out of our cars at Martinsville in the spring and at our test as well. And then Talladega, I'm probably have that one circled as well. Not to say that there aren't other tracks I feel really good about, but those two are probably at the top of our list.
Thanks, Brad.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take one final question with Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Brad, earlier this summer, you were pushing for more practice as essentially be more cost effective than relying on the sim stuff. And I'm curious, how as a driver owner do you marry the issue of you're taking hits, you're feeling those hits more with the cost that, at some point, obviously safety is important, but there does get to be a point, can it cost too much? How are you dealing with this? Because obviously this is the big issue in the sport is how much more can be done, and the drivers want it to be everything done, and owners have got to look at a bottom line. So
yeah,
how do you look at it since you have both perspectives and nobody else does?
Yeah, it's a really polarizing topic. You have the owners that don't want to touch anything on the car, and you have the drivers that are kind of screaming that we've got to make safety advancements on the car, and sitting in both rooms can get awkward at times, no doubt. But I don't think this car is end of the world, unsafe or anything like that. I don't feel that way, but I don't think it's optimized either. So I'd like to see some small iteration changes to continue to improve it, and I think those are out there. Again, it's a really polarizing topic between the, everything's perfect camp and everything's wrong camp, and I think there's probably a spot in between.
Are you a unifier, or are you standing in the back of the room being quiet?
Well, right now, all I care about is getting this team to work and win races, so or company as a whole, and I feel like that's 99% of my energy is what is it going to take to get these cars to where they can compete at a high level, to show the pace that's required to be competitive. And in that light, that's where my bandwidth is.
And last thing is, obviously, your schedule's always busy, and obviously you had your business and you've done a lot of things. But
come on in, Chris.
Can you give me a sense of what this year has been like in the double duty with everything and trying to build this organization up? I mean, how tired are you at this point? How much has this year taken out of you? And how are you feeling at this point with 7 weeks left in the season?
Yeah, I'm not tired. I've probably wore some other people down though.
He hasn't slowed down yet.
Yeah,
not the first bit.
I'm not tired at all. I'm driven. I want to see this thing be successful. Today's a clear sign that it can be successful, but it ain't going to be successful sitting on our hands. You got to grind it out, and that's a hell of a journey to grind it out. I tell you, there's days you look back and say, did I get better today or did I get worse? And more often than not, you have to get worse to get better. And that can be really frustrating. It can be letting go someone who's good because they're not great, and that ain't fun, I can tell you that. And then biding it out until you can find great. So, it can be tearing down the walls in the shop and having a mess everywhere and knowing that's what needs to be done to be better in, 6 months. But it's a lot of playing the long game and having confidence that we're doing the right things. And that's not easy because, like I said, anytime we make a change, I think it's really natural, and not just for our company, but for any company, for everyone to go, okay, where's the instant result? Like, there are no instant results. Like, every change, like, you don't see a result for 6 to 12 months. And that can be really painful because you start to lose people and they start to not believe in you. So this is a big win for us to kind of regain the confidence of our not just our partners and the external factors that we face, but our internals as well. So I'm excited for them and excited for that for our company. No problem, Dustin.
All right, Brad, thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.
They're all yours, Chris.
Got them warmed up.
I take my sword. I'm going home. Good job, man.
Thanks. Sorry about your luck.
Hey, thanks.
That hurts.
Happy for you, man.
I appreciate it.
Enjoy it.
Thank you.
Where's Emma? She's still here.
Yeah, she stayed over. She wasn't feeling great this morning.
Hurry on, go see her. Enjoy it. Thanks. See you Monday.
Okay, we're going to continue with our post-race press conference here with our race winning driver and crew chief, Chris Buescher and Scott Graves. Congratulations to you both. We appreciate you spending some time with us. We are going to roll straight into questions, and to kick us off, we're going to start with Jordan.
I just want to point out that we have swords, so you better be nice, all of you.
Jordan Bianchi, the Athletic. What's Brad Keselowski like as a team owner?
It's been really special. I've talked about it a lot through different events, different appearances, different sponsor get-togethers, and I've had a lot of teammates through my Cup career that have been passionate and put in a lot of effort, but none like Brad. And I think it's comes from a level of success that he's had in the series and winning a championship and winning races and coming in having just that little extra skin in the game a lot more skin in the game as an owner as well. And it's been really fun. Been able to lean on him at a lot of tracks that have been my weaker places and get a lot better at those places and make some big progress. So it's been really good through the year. We didn't fire off as good as we had hoped. The duels were big to sweep those, but the Clash didn't fire off as good as we hoped, and spent the first couple months trying to get traction underneath our feet, and we came into some really good runs there early summer, and we've had a lot of really good months here with a little bit of rough luck along the way, and a little bit of cleanup just needed in some different areas, and we've been close, and that was exciting internally. Everybody at the shop sees it, but it's a little harder for our casual fans to read into some of the things that we're talking about and the successes that we feel like the mini wins that we've had internally. And this just put a cap on all that and really shows everybody that the progress that we've made through the summer and through the year, and as Brad's come over and really just poured so much heart and soul into the organization, as well as Jack and everybody back at RFK.
How specifically has Brad made you a better driver?
I think I think about Phoenix is my most specific example that I always come back to, but there's been a handful of these along the way. At racetrack's not historically been my best track. It just hasn't been, and I don't have a good reason why or didn't at the time, and we got to go out there and run a test with Brad really early on where ran a day, and then Brad got in the car and ran the second day, and it was one of those where he gets out and says, look, you're focusing on the wrong things, or maybe don't focus as hard on these. Focus here, move it around, and he said, this is where I've had success, try this, and that's helped me at a lot of racetracks that we've gone to this season to be better at those places, to see his passion in it and the amount of effort that he puts in each and every weekend just drives everybody to put in all the effort we possibly can to get to right here, right? To be sitting here after a race and celebrating.
And overall in the organization outside of the race car, what does Brad provide to RFK that maybe wasn't there before?
I guess there's not one thing, right? There's a lot of things that have happened through the off season, through the season that continue to change. Whether that is cleaning up some of our process. I think Brad's come in and been a detail guy. Really dove into some of the smaller pieces that'll add up to bigger pieces. And we've come in and a lot of it's the most obvious is aesthetics that have been cleaned up and straightened out, and that goes towards pushing a higher work ethic and a better sense of pride in what we're putting on the racetrack. We've had really nice race cars at the track each and every week, and that started from just cleaning up a little bit. And, as you go along the list and you get some of his knowledge that he's built through the years, I think he's been thinking about this team owner thing for a really long time. And I think it's been good to have him come over and kind of rejuvenate Jack as well. I think I've seen Jack smiling a whole lot more in the last couple months than I had in a really long time. And that's been awesome to see at the same time. So I think it's brought some more excitement back to the shop. I think it's brought some more success back to the shop as well.
All right, we're going to go Mark, and then we'll go Seth, and then we'll go Michael.
Okay, my screen just disappeared. Mark Arrow with PRN. What kind of deal was it for it to hang over your head? 223 races since the last win at Pocono. 2,238 days you had to live with that. How did you live with that? How did you deal with that?
I didn't count them. I don't like that stat one bit, but at least it reset here today. And we've had some really close ones this year. The progress and the speed has been there at a lot of places. We've come back on Monday and been happy for a lot of reasons, and really upset on some missed opportunities or some small things that we felt like could have completely changed some of our days, and or some big things like catching on fire at Indy. There's been a lot of moments through the summer, really through the season, that we could add up and say we've been sneaking up on this. So it's nice to put together. Scott made a great call, and all day long, really, we got our track position after not qualifying as good as we had hoped, and got up front for a lot of the race and was able to run away with it at the end. And I think about the Pocono win, and that one was special. But this has been the one where I would take over any other race, whether it's the 500, the Coke 600. This is the one I've wanted for forever, and that makes this one that much better, right? It's aside from all the numbers and the days passed since the last one, it just means that much more that this was the one that we did pull off.
So through the years and all those days, you never thought about that? Never thought about the distance between that first win?
Like I said, I thought about it, but I just didn't count them. That's it came up in the shop this week that this was our 250th start, and I thought that through and thought back through the years. I was like, man, it's been a rough go at times, and I've been sitting here trying to fight for top 20s at different points in my career, and that's not where we're at this year. It's not where we've been looking to. We've had high expectations from the get-go, and I think a lot of that does come from Brad coming over and kind of hitting a reset button. Nobody was ever content with 20, but it was like we needed baby steps to kind of work our way back up, and this was a big reset this season to say, look, we need to be winning races, and trying to put everything else behind you other than the last week, and try and learn from that one to get better. So, I guess it's crossed your mind that it's been a long time, and it's wasn't counting 2,234 days or whatever that was for sure.
All right, we're going to go to Seth. Go ahead.
Seth Egger, KickingTires.net. This is for Scott. In 2015, you got your first championship in the Xfinity Series with Chris. This is your first win as a Cup Series crew chief. So is it a little bit of coming full circle?
Yeah, for sure. I've been at this a long time on the Cup side, and when I got the chance to get back together to work with Chris, at the end of last year, was really excited about it. And getting into this year, we've been close a couple times, and to finally get this win, especially at Bristol, because of we were just talking about it just a couple days ago that 2015 we almost won the Xfinity race, and it came down to a caution with 2 to go, and we were ran out of fuel basically on the restart and lost that one. But this makes up for it for sure. So it means a lot here, obviously, to get this win and to get it with Chris. It definitely means a lot. It's a really big race.
All right, our next question will go to, yes, perfect, thank you.
Michael Massey, front stretch. Chris, quarterback Geno Smith had a great quote last week. people tried to write me off. I didn't write back. Do you think there was a time where, like, maybe the industry or fans or anyone, I mean, you were a top prospect coming in, winning the Xfinity title, but do you think there was a time during this drought where people did write you off?
Maybe. I don't care, though. You know, I think that we've stayed at what we've known through the years. You know, tried to understand that do the best with what we had, and we made good things happen with opportunities that people didn't expect, and so we weren't necessarily written off, but we were underdogs a lot through the years, and maybe we're a little bit coming into this season as well, and I think that we've had a performance that has showed that that's not where we're at. You know, for the majority of this season at this point, we've had really strong runs, and I don't think that that's us at this point. If it was, so be it. I don't think it's bothered me one bit. Right here, win races, and it's been a long time. And like I said, I wasn't counting the days, but know that wanted this thing really bad, and think back to some of the races this season, and we've been so close at them, and had things happen along the way, and honestly, I'm okay with that. We got to win at the one we wanted the most, and like Scott said, this is something that we've talked about leading into Bristol a lot. Wishing there was 2 concrete races here to have more shots at it. Just trying to redeem ourselves from a race that really just punched us right in the throat right at the very end after having a really dominant day, and this makes up for that in a really big way.
Okay, real quick, we're going to go up to the press box for a question. Go ahead, press box.
Hey, Chris, this is Jeff Birchville of John City Press. You mentioned 3 or 4 different times about how special it was to win at Bristol, and just talk about a little bit about that atmosphere tonight. It seemed like it was really electric with just such a big crowd here tonight and everyone into it.
Yeah, this place has that special feel, and we always talk about coming into it. The excitement I got walking through that tunnel yesterday and seeing clean concrete, was really big. I don't mind the dirt race, but this is my favorite racetrack on a paved surface, and so when we lose that to dirt, it hurts a little bit more than it would if a Richmond was covered in dirt. So it's always special coming in here. We had a great crowd tonight. Fans were jacked up. It's a long day of waiting to hopefully hold out for weather, and we had fantastic weather tonight. Got to get our whole racing without any worries of any of that. It was a great temperature out. Fans showed up in huge numbers, and it's just great to see the fans and packing the stands here at Bristol again. So that adds to everything else on top of this being my favorite racetrack. I'm not saying that because we're sitting here at Bristol. I've gotten in trouble at a lot of different racetracks for saying that on their stages beforehand and gotten yelled at, but it's the truth. This is the one we've been looking forward to for a really long time, and it's just a special place. It's unlike anywhere else we go.
All right, hold for 1 minute. Does anyone have any questions for Scott Graves? If not, I'm going to let him go. Okay, let me take these 2 for Scott. I'll let him go, and then we'll continue with Chris. Go ahead, Jeff and Nate, and then we'll continue. Go ahead. Right here.
Yeah, just the tire strategy. Did you have an idea going in that they were not going to wear? I mean, Brad went the whole first stage, obviously, and
yeah,
it worked out.
Yeah, after watching, we through practice saw lap times were not a lot of fall off, and then just watching the races here the last few days just gave me more of a sense of kind of back to 2015-16, where it was just about the track position and staying out, and really felt like tonight was just going to come down to who could be in first on the last restart and controlling the race. Was a little concerned, like we were playing it right, led through most of the second stage, and then some guys got a little more aggressive. We were kind of waiting until we could get to windows to pit for the last time and put tires, and I was a little concerned that we gave it up because we were back in like 4th or 5th, and then I knew at that point we were even with everybody in front of us. And when that last caution came out, I was like, well, the only shot we got is just to put 2 tires on it here and try to get out in front of them. So luckily it did. I mean, the rights were the only thing I was concerned about. There was almost 0 wear on the left side tires, and I was only worried about the rights just for some of the failures at lap time. Like say the fall off was pretty minimal. So that was just our opportunity to get it back out front, and I knew if we can get there, then we could keep the lead.
All right, Nate.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. That was sort of my question, Scott. I guess following up, were you worried when Keselowski had his tire problem? Did you get any feedback on that?
Yeah, I was. I was a little bit worried at that point because it had been mostly confined to the Penske cars, and I didn't think we were going to have any issues at that point. We had that one long run. We had 110 laps on tires on one run, and really didn't see any issues. So I wasn't too worried. And then as soon as Brad had it, I mean, I knew where all their settings were and where they were on pressure, and I was like, we're right there with them. So definitely a little bit of concern, and I think everybody else did too, and that's probably why everyone went from the really aggressive, they were just going to stay out, to when that last caution happened, then everybody hit pit road. So it just kind of changed the tone a little bit at that point.
As a crew chief, what was it like watching this race where first time that the next-gen car has been on the concrete with the high loads, and obviously there were a lot of durability problems for a lot of people. I mean, did you kind of expect that coming in, or was it even maybe more of a race of attrition than you expected?
A little bit. I mean, we knew it would be a test. I thought we'd been to Dover. That's pretty high load, one of the highest loads tracks that we see. I guess the difference here is just everyone was probably on a different steering ratio. A little bit quicker steering, and maybe that put things in a little bit higher load. Tested that part of the car out that hadn't really been seen before. So thought wasn't completely surprised that we saw some issues, but I was surprised. There were a bunch of steering rack issues, it seemed like, and then the failures, just not sure on the tire failures we were seeing. But not knowing where guys were at with with settings and things like that, luckily we were conservative enough to not have an issue.
Okay, we're gonna go with Jacob. One last question for Scott.
Jacob Silman kicking the tires. I'll actually get Chris to kind of chime in a little bit, and then Scott, you can follow. Chris, you said on TV that you weren't worried at all when Scott called for the 2 tires, and that you were just gonna drive it at the end. Does that illustrate, obviously you two have worked together a lot, does that illustrate the faith that you've had in Scott atop the pit box all the time you've worked together?
Yeah, I think last year we kind of picked up pretty quickly where we left off several years back, and come down to the end of the race, and I'm in no position to make that decision for where I'm at. I was sitting there, we kind of been running about 4th or 5th, and he didn't tell me until we were pulling into the pit box about 4 stalls away, so I didn't have time to argue anyway, but I was on board with it. As soon as he said, I was like, all right, we're going to get this track position, we're going to fight with all we got on this restart, and try and take off, and I don't know what the other cars were on there at the end, but I felt like watching Brad have his issue definitely had me a little bit nervous from inside the car, but where we're at, unfortunately not in the playoffs, but figured there's no reason to let up. We have nothing to lose here tonight, so we'll stay after it, and whatever happens, happens. And so, no, I felt confident that he had the information to make that call, and trusted that was going to give us the track position to be on the front row there at the end. We had good calls earlier that had put us up there, and in a fast race car that we were on the front row and got a lot of practice up there restarting, and I think we were 100% on right lane choice from the front row and maintaining the lead. So had a good idea where we needed to be for that last restart, and that all helped from my standpoint.
Scott, how have you seen Chris grow as a driver from when you first worked with him to where you guys are now, and what makes this relationship between the two of you click like it does?
I think, from when I first started working with him, I think just, the confidence he has now has grown a lot. And, this year, obviously, the car, the confidence and the aggression that he's been able to show has just really been a step up, from what I've seen. So just, really proud of him for that, from what he's been able to do, and actually, get the win here tonight is just kind of I guess a huge accomplishment on that end of it. So I think, for what works between us, like, neither of us get stressed out. It's just, he's calm, and I try to stay calm. I mean, whether I'm calm internally or not, I try to stay calm, and I think that's just a big part of it, because we're able to talk our way through things, and we always seem to be, going forward. Like, we make adjustments throughout a race, and we can figure it out and move forward, and that's just a big part of it. And I feel like a lot of times, if you're in a panic mode and a lot of things spiral out of control, and that's just not us. It works well from that standpoint.
All right, Scott, thanks for hanging with us for a little bit. You are good to go. Chris, unfortunately, you have to stay for a little bit longer. We'll start with Steven.
Finish up there. Steven Toronto, CBS Sports. Chris, you've had, during your Cup career, you've had really good races and really good runs in spurts, it feels like. But tonight, obviously, not only do you get the win, you also set a new career high for laps led. That actually, I think, shattered that mark by a wide margin, and obviously got the victory. So do you feel like this is, and I know this is easy to say because you won, but do you feel like this is the most complete race that you've ever run in your Cup career?
Probably, because there's a trophy at the end of the day. But I think back, it was a smooth day. It wasn't a day where we had to fight and claw and overcome a lot of adversity. And I think we talked a lot this year because we've had those days. And Indy, for instance, we had speed to win that race, or to fight with the 8 car for that one. And we caught on fire. We're laps down until 6 laps to go. We finally got on the lead lap, and we fought hard all day long and clawed our way back to 10th. And that's one that you sit there, and we came back on Monday, and we're like, man, if things could have gone a little smoother and we wouldn't fight all the adversity throughout most of the race, that could have been an opportunity. There's been a lot of races like that where we've been strong. We've had good showings. We've steadily built on our speed during the race. We've made good adjustments. We've had good pit stops, but we've had something somewhere along the way hit us, whether it was bad luck, whether it was poor choices from behind the steering wheel, whether it was on pit road, whatever it may have been. We've had things come up on some of our best days that have prevented us from sitting here right now. So, we didn't have to fight near as hard today. We had speed from the get-go. Fast cars fix a whole lot of things, and we had that through practice. Qualifying was a big disappointment for us, and I guess maybe that was the biggest hurdle we had to overcome was not being where we needed to be after qualifying. And I felt confident in our race car. I told everybody, I was like, I'm not stressing about this right now. I am really happy with where we're at, and I think we have a good shot. Love this racetrack. I always feel like we have a shot coming here. So, it was one of those days where we all executed well, and we didn't have that big slap in the face somewhere along the way that we had to try and shake off and get back going. And at this level and at this level of competition that we've seen week in, week out, you have to put together everything in the same night, and we did that tonight.
You mentioned having fast cars, and the last time the Cup Series was on a short track before this was Richmond, and there you were contending for the win there. I know you had good runs to that point before and were on a pretty good streak, but was that almost a eureka moment for this race team?
The fact that it was at Richmond, yeah. I would have told you to fill that place with water and stock it with fish for a lot of years in my career. And this year has been a pretty good reset for me. I had friends at Richmond that worked at the track, and they gave me a really hard time because I was not easy, and I did not make their jobs easy. But it's a place where I really struggled through the years, and to come there this year and have 2 good runs, but to be that close in that race, that was like, man, we've found something, not only on our road course side, but on our short track side of things. Our mile and a halves have been okay. They've been competitive, more competitive than we've been in the past, but not where they need to be. And we loved going to Richmond and seeing that speed there. And I think that did kind of give us that step back of put some more focus into this, not only the road course side but short tracks. And Bristol, like I said, is one that I've had circles for so long. Put a lot of focus into this thing and worked hard to be ready for it. Dover, we had great speed, got our first pole at Dover, and it's probably the track that we're able to lean into the most to be ready for this one. So that really was kind of the kickoff of our runs through the summer, that the momentum that we've been able to build. And so today probably started with that race a long time ago to be here right now.
Right. Thanks, Chris.
Well,
over here, Chris.
Chris Weaver, Fox 8, WGHP High Point. Scott and you both talked about the tire strategy and staying calm, but at what point in the race did you say, all right, I've got a car that can win this thing? And then after the tire strategy deal and you're up front, what do you do in your head to stay calm and keep it out front?
I'm always calm. Scott said, Scott put it well that internally we may have our fights and our demons. I get a lot of that out without keying up a radio button, so most people never see it, never hear it, and including our team, and do that on purpose because I know that I don't always think the clearest in the absolute moment, and I've been around a lot of those moments through my career, working on race cars, working on teams, and did not see the benefit in it. I've seen it deject everybody behind the pit wall, up on the pit box, and really have everybody kind of scratching their heads, wondering what to do. Having that fit is not. I've not seen it be productive. It works for some people. Some people need it, and that's fine. But that's not me. That's not Scott. That's not our team. And try and get those out of the way real quick, and then hit the button and talk about what needs to be talked about to get better. And so we come down to the end of the race, and like I said, he didn't give me any time to fight him on the 2 tires, 4 tires. I knew we were going to put something on it, and after watching Brad's hard luck there, I was like, okay, this is going to hit the reset button to where don't have to worry about that in the last 60 laps. And as we're pulling the box, he said, right sides only. I was like, let's go. Like, let's take this shot. Let's do it. Let's gamble. We have nothing to lose here. There's one thing that hurts about tonight, and it's the fact that this was not 4 races ago and put us into the playoffs, because with the speed we've had, I feel like we could have drove through a couple of rounds. Who knows? We won't know at this point. But it's the only thing that hurts about tonight. Everything else was awesome, and everything else is definitely on the up and up. So it's a very special one. Like I said, this favorite racetrack. This is the one I wanted to win. I'd take this over at Daytona 500 any day of the week.
Kelly.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Did Chris Buescher win this race, or did Christopher Buescher win this race?
Well, Christopher was on the car. I talked about coming into it. I was like, man, maybe I need to cut that off because we've had some rough luck the last 2 weeks. Has not gone near as well with my full name there. So now I don't know what to do. Now we're gonna roll with it. So I know my mom is punching the air right now that the name she gave me was on the race car. I got it to victory lane, so that was she's been the biggest fan of Dale Jr. ever since that moment. But it's been really fun to play along with that and have some good times with it. I told everybody I started shortening it because everybody in middle school was already done with their test by the time I wrote my full name out. So I had to try and catch up. So probably regret it a little bit now, but it's been fun to play along with it, and we'll keep with it through the end of the year, and we'll see where it goes.
Brad said one of the first things when he signed his deal with Roush was to see what your deal was, and that he put a contract extension in front of you. So how good does it feel that he came in and he believes so much in you, and that it seems like you're going to be secure for a pretty long time with this organization?
Yeah, it's been here a long time already, so it just keeps adding on. It's especially it's home, right? It's Jack and Robbie Reiser, and with the help of Ken and David Reagan and several other people along the way, really gave me my shot at professional auto racing, right? And that was at Roush Fenway Racing at the time, and it's been a really special place where I've gotten to develop and basically build my skill set and be able to go win a lot of races through different series. And not as many on the Cup side as we wanted, not even close. And for Brad to come over in the ownership role and have that faith in me early on meant a lot to me. A guy that's won so many races, championship at the top level motorsports in the country. That's a pretty big pat on the back when we haven't always had the results to show for it. So I think it goes to me to say that people have been paying attention when we make the most of the situations that we've been in and do our best to have a 10th place day and make it a 7th or whatever it may be, and always do that and always put in 110%. So I've had really good teammates through the years at different organizations at the Cup level, but nobody that's put in the amount of effort as Brad Keselowski, and probably comes from the ownership side of it as well. I don't know if it would be the same without that side of it, but I feel like the answer is probably yes. He's very passionate about it. He puts in the work and the time and the effort to be able to make this thing successful. And we've seen it this year. Everybody back at the shop's done a fantastic job and really adapted well to huge changes through the offseason, right? The next-gen car has been a huge step in learning process for everybody, and everybody embraced it and got after it, and we've been close at times, and they always hurt a little bit to miss out on them, and I don't remember who told me, but I was told after Sonoma, you got to lose a few before you can win them, and so felt like we lost a few this year that got us to where we were ready to win this one.
So that's a good segue. Last way I wanted to bring up, you talk about the first pole this year, the good runs, the runs where you guys have been way off. You've been upside down. You've been on fire. So is it almost like, of course, you're going to win a race, and not only win a race, but win a race where you take home a sword?
At this point, nothing was going to surprise me in this year. I don't know how I've gotten to be the test dummy for so much of this. My came back from Indy. My dad's like, "Hey, do you get hazard pay for doing all this? Like, this has been awful. You've hit all the low lights along the way, and it's been a ride. I've had a lot harder go this year. Torn up a lot more equipment than I'm used to in my career as well, and that doesn't sit well with me because something I've taken pride in a long time. Worked on a lot of my own race cars, and seen the bills on cars growing up, and seen what my family sacrificed to do this, and worked very hard to make sure that I was taking care of Jack's stuff through the years. And this one's been a tough go. We've had some moments, but we've had the high spots as well, and that's really helped keep us rolling. That there's been progress along the way, even with the tough ones, whether it was barrel rolling at a track where you would never think about a car flipping, not being the first one on fire, but the one that put on the biggest show out of it until Harvick outdid me. So yeah, it's been a ride, but wouldn't trade it for anything because we've learned from each and every moment along the way. That's a lie. I'd trade some of those. Yeah, I probably would, but we did learn from all of it to be able to keep moving forward.
Any final questions for Chris? All right. Well, congratulations, Chris. Good luck next week in Texas.
Thank you very much. Glad to be going home.